Like and subscribe for endless entertainment. Our story begins with three little ones standing at the entrance of a gate while wondering what could possibly be on the other side, since Mother never allows them to leave the orphanage. The trio heads back home where they begin their duties as the oldest members of their family, when Emma sees Mother watching from afar and goes over to get a free hug from the best mom in the world. Everyone assembles in the dining room to partake in a well-rounded breakfast consisting of all the healthiest foods, prior to entering the examination room to do a test that pushes the children's brains to its limit, and Mother reveals that our trio are the only members of their family to get perfect scores, which impresses Connie because she's a victim of being blonde. But one of the students gets jealous, so he challenges Norman to a friendly game of tag while Ray acts as the timekeeper. The set 8 kids use the bush hiding method in clear view of the house, so the predator easily dispatches their dumbasses, while Dawn and Connie chooses to go deeper into the forest where he promises to always be there to help her. However, they turn around to see Norman casually walking over to take them out the game. They return home to find out that our white-haired king has been on a generational run, but one survivor still remains out there, as Emma tries her best to gain some distance, though Norman the hunter is still keeping up with her, until she makes a leap of faith which he wisely chooses not to attempt. This forces the seeker to follow a different route while tracking Emma throughout the forest, and he comes to a stop under a tree where Norman accidentally trips over a rock to make the soft-hearted queen come over to check on him so he can get the chance to end this game. At the orphanage, Emma throws a tantrum because no one ever wins against Norman, but Ray says even though our goat excels at strategy, she far surpasses him in physical prowess, and Norman admits that Mother is even smarter than him, as Dawn calls him over again to start a game of reverse tag. Everyone starts looking for our white-haired king, where we find Emma going deep inside the forest until she comes upon a small fence blocking her way and sees Norman just standing in front of it, so our queen evens the score to bring this round to an end. The duo reveals that Mother always warned them to never go near the barrier because it's dangerous, but Ray apparates to declare that it must be a lie since the hurdle couldn't keep out anything big enough to threaten them. However, Emma says that although he makes a good point, they should listen to Mother because she always knows best. Some other orphans find our party, then realizes the game has already ended, where Dawn questions if everyone will eventually be adopted once they turn 12, but Four Eyes brings up the fact that no one ever sends back letters once they leave, and all the little ones concludes that the outside world must be an amazing place where anyone who leaves forgets about the orphanage. The children begin discussing the things they'll see once Mother finds parents to take care of them, but Ray says he would have to learn how to survive outside the gates, while Emma professes to never wanting to leave since she's happy as things are at the moment. Connie admits to being the next person up for adoption, so there will be letters from the other side for everyone soon, and the kid hopes that one day when she has children they will be raised with as much love as Mother shows to them. In the night, Connie gets ready to leave the orphanage and says goodbye to her family for the last time, then Mother starts the long walk with her child towards the gate. Emma walks through the dining hall where she realizes that Connie left the bunny rabbit behind, and Ray tells them to take it to her since Mom hasn't made it to the exit yet. Our duo races to catch up to the little one until they arrive at the gate that Mother told them never to enter, and Norman decides to walk inside while being closely followed by Emma. The orphans see a truck for the first time as they start searching it for their sibling, when our queen suddenly has a mental breakdown, so Norman goes over to find Connie's loot box stuffed inside the vehicle. Our duo hears something coming towards them and run away to seek safety under the truck, but as the figures come closer they realize that the intruders are grotesque monsters, which forces the little ones to summon all their courage to not scream out of terror. Both of them watch as the demons pick up Connie's lifeless form to put it inside a chug jug so it can remain fresh, while talking about how much the upper class is going to pay for such high-quality food, and the retailer tells someone that since the other farms are underperforming she must prepare the premium livestock for transport. Then Mother agrees to this immediately, which shocks our duo to their core. A demon suddenly smells something in the air before going over to the truck, where he finds Connie's bunny and questions Mother about how it got there while the two cattle sprint for their lives until they run out of breath. Emma takes this brief time away from danger to unleash all the grief she feels about losing Connie as Norman stands apart thinking about the implications. They return to the house where our white-haired king begins to make a plan to escape once they tell Ray about what happened, but Emma says they need to take all the orphans with them because she can't bear losing anyone else, so Norman decides that he will find a way to keep their families safe, while Ray listens to their conversation on the outside, and Mother stands there menacingly unaware of who now knows the truth. The next day, our duo meets up with each other to discuss what to do next. They decide to keep acting like nothing ever happened before revealing that the orphans are shipped out based on their test scores, so Connie became a DoorDash order because blondes are dumb, which leads them to believe that the monsters are mostly interested in eating their brains. Then following this pattern, Norman reasons that they have 2 more months left until the next shipment. Our duo walks deep into the forest to start coming up with plans. They decide it's impossible to escape from the gates, thus this leaves them with the forest as their only option. But once the two get past the fence, it's found that Wall Maria also stands between them and freedom. Emma climbs up the tree to see only more forest waiting on the other side, so it's agreed to use ropes to climb over it in the future, when a bell suddenly begins ringing to signal the orphans to return home. A little one runs over to Mother to report that he lost his playmate in the forest. Then Mom opens her pocket watch to look at something, prior to leaving the children alone for a short time and returning with the lost girl sleeping in her arms. But Norman immediately discerns the possibility of all the orphans having trackers inside their bodies and decides that this is Mother's way of warning those who know the truth that escaping their fate is impossible. Inside the house, our duo is determined to find some rope, but Dawn interrupts them to call over Norman to fix a clock, which gives Emma time to mourn Connie's memory alone. A few minutes later, the goat returns to discover Mother standing in front of Emma while asking why she isn't smiling like usual. However, our queen confesses that she was sad because it will soon be her time to leave the orphanage. Then Emma wonders how Connie is doing on the outside before revealing that the blonde wanted to be a loving mom just like her. Mother says Connie will age into a graceful young woman, which drives Norman mad with pure anger, as Ray comes in to save the day by signaling the end of dinner time to summon all the livestock into the hall so Emma can take the opportunity to retreat with Norman, but Mother stops them to ask if they went to the gate last night, and our goat denies doing it since that's against the rules. They walk downstairs where Emma collapses from the trauma, so Norman tries to help her even though he's scared as well, and she takes his hand so they can find new strength from believing in each other. Once everyone goes to sleep, our duo sneaks out of the dormitory, then opens the door to the storage room to loot the tablecloths, and they wrap it around themselves to take them outside without anyone noticing so the orphans can later craft it into rope to grapple over the wall. Norman says that the only thing left is to take out the tracking devices, though Emma thinks it's time to tell Ray about their revelations because he is talented with machines, as the young man walks out the bush to question why the two are this far out. They tell him about everything that happened, and surprisingly Ray takes this well since Norman would never make up something like this. He says there needs to be a list of people who can join the plan to escape, but our soft-hearted queen declares that she will save everyone despite the risks it brings. Ray protests this decision considering the fact that some of the little ones can't even walk, and once they leave the farm their group will need to be able to survive in a world overrun by demons. After hearing all this, Emma still refuses to leave any of her family behind to be slaughtered, before announcing her intention to carve out a place on the outside where humans can live safely. Seeing no way to convince the queen, Ray starts reasoning with our white-haired king, when Norman confesses to being scared only for their lives after finding Connie's body, while Emma was crying for what awaits all the orphans in the future, and at that moment he promised himself to do anything in his power to return a smile to her face. Ray wonders if the duo has lost their minds as Norman has his honored one moment, which convinces the young man to join the Insanity Club, as the bell suddenly starts ringing. All the herd returns home to see a new shepherd standing beside Mother, and our party is shocked that reinforcements has arrived already. A few hours later, we find Sister Krone thanking Mom for the opportunity to work for the best farm on Earth, before complimenting her legendary status of being the youngest woman to ever gain the rank of mother. But Mom tells the underling to stop the premium quality glazing because she is only needed to serve as a distraction until the cattle who knows the secret has been delivered. Sister is shocked by this admission and questions why Mother didn't follow protocol to cut out the infection immediately so it doesn't spread, prior to Mom revealing that she already knows of the 2 livestocks involved. However, they are fruits too special to be picked before being fully ripened first, which is the reason she requested a guard dog to serve as another set of eyes where the sheep would believe her to be blind. Krone goes to an assigned room and immediately starts reporting everything that happened to a fugly doll. At first she planned to help Mom as a way to be promoted to the mother position on another farm, but after giving it further thought, Krone decides to capture the kids who know the truth, then report the misconduct to the authorities in hopes that they will award her with this plantation after Mother attends a meet and greet with God. Inside a secret room, Grandmother informs Mom of the other farm's recent lack of quality products and asks if she can still ship out the 3 premium livestock, before Mother tells them that everything is going as planned, which makes the demons excited about the upcoming harvest. On the other side of the house, our party uses the appearance of another adult to deduce the existence of more farms on the outside, and Emma wonders how the tracking devices were installed since she can't find them anywhere. Ray theorizes that the monsters are most likely to insert small chips into the orphans at a young age, so any signs of it would be long gone by now, but Norman says they can just check a little one for a scar. In the night, our 2 kings debate about taking out the adults to make escape easier, when Sister jump scares them to introduce herself to the highest scoring cattle on the farm, and Krone's strange behavior convinces Norman that Mother is close to finding the culprits. Meanwhile, Emma searches a little one for any peculiar marks until she discovers a small bump behind the ear. The next day, our queen reveals where the tracker is located, but Ray says it's best to wait for him to find a way to deactivate them, since the monsters could have installed an alarm system for when they're destroyed. The trio starts planning on ways to train the little ones without anyone knowing and settles on using games of tag to teach the orphans everything that will be necessary to survive on the outside. This catches Sister's attention, so she decides to play with them to test how smart Mother's kids really are. Krone rushes into the forest at full speed but comes to a stop when she encounters fake footprints. Then the mentally unstable woman chooses to go all out. Sister uses bait to lure her prey into one spot to hunt them down easier, and no matter how fast the livestocks run or where they try to hide, most of them eventually fall victim to the predator. The seeker closes in on more cattle, though Emma comes in clutch to save them at the cost of almost getting caught, before jumping off a cliff to hide among nature so she can catch her breath. Krone says that Norman's weakness is his stamina, and Ray gives up easily if things seem too difficult. However, Emma is naive to the point where she makes stupid decisions even if it will only lead to her demise. Sister continues the hunt to chase after the 2 kings, so they decide to split up, which forces her to go for Norman. But right as she is able to catch him, our goat jumps away to buy just enough time for this game to come to an end, and Krone has to acknowledge that Mother's children are truly the best. A few days later, we find the trio reflecting on why neither Mother nor Sister has made any moves against our party after the game of tag, and Norman concludes that they must have spies hidden among the orphans who report everything to the adults. The bell rings for the cattle to gather for feed, with the herders directing them from behind, and Emma tries to spot the traitor inside her family before becoming overwhelmed by the revelation that it could be anybody. In the morning, our party decides to teach the little ones formations that will be invaluable in the future, where Norman resolves to tell the next 2 oldest orphans the truth so they can act as team leaders while setting a trap to find the spies at the same time. The game of tag starts with the 4 captains running away into the forest, leaving Ray's group to hunt them down, while Emma uses hand signs to flawlessly direct her group in order to hide them away from danger, as Norman signals the other 2 leaders to split up so Ray cannot catch both of them. After the round ends, our party meets up to talk about the success of their plan, though Emma continues to observe all the orphans in an attempt to pick out the traitors. But Norman interrupts her to question Ray about how fast the trackers can be disabled, and when he learns it can be done in 10 days, our white-haired king decides to make this their date for escape despite Ray's insistence on waiting longer since the next shipment is in 2 months. In the middle of the night, Emma tells Dawn and Four Eyes that Mother is selling the orphans to human traffickers, but Dawn believes it to be some kind of prank and tells them to stop lying until Four Eyes admits that the trio has been acting suspiciously preceding their trip to the gate. Dawn begs to know if Connie is safe, but Norman tells him that they didn't see her at the entrance. Then he pulls out the test scores, which proves that the orphans over 6 are being sold based on who has the lowest scores. Then the 2 newcomers decide to help them to rescue their missing family. Our queen returns to her dorm and Ray chastises Norman for giving their new allies false hope about saving all the little ones who already got eaten by monsters, but Norman Lannister confesses that they could still be spies, so he will test them by telling Dawn of the rope located under his bed while tempting Four Eyes with the rope in the attic, and whichever of them goes missing will also reveal the identity of the traitor. A few hours later, as everyone sleeps, the visually impaired orphan awakens to sneak outside the room. However, Emma is always on point and follows close behind to see her meeting with Krone. Sister asks if the little one still wants to talk about the strange things she noticed, but Four Eyes says it isn't a problem anymore, which makes Krone accuses the orphan of learning the truth from Emma and reveals that she's willing to work together with them, though Four Eyes pushes her away while denying having any knowledge of what the crazy lady is referring to. The little one leaves the room to go back to the dorm where she finds Emma waiting for her, and the young lady embraces our queen to get some emotional support. On the other side of the house, someone slips a note under Mother's door that tells her of the rope located under Norman's bed, while Sister is upset because she lost a potential informant, though the insane woman decides that there is another person that could be of use. The next day, Krone talks to Dawn as Norman asks Ray why the traitor would backstab their own kind, and he theorizes that there must be some deal in place to prevent them from getting shipped. A few hours later, Norman meets with Emma to question what to do with the orphan siding with Mother, and she admits that they should force the traitor to escape with them since the demons would turn anyone who remains into 5-course meals. Our goat meets with Ray to check the locations of the rope, but finds the one that should be under his bed missing. Then with a heavy heart, Norman declares that Ray is the imposter since he never actually told the others about these spots. Seeing no reason to lie, the little one confesses to being Mom's spy from the moment he learned how to talk. However, Norman is confused because it was Ray who told them to carry Connie's bunny to the gate, which led the duo down the road they're traveling now, so there must be more to his plan than surviving by being a professional snitch. Ray admits that when the truth was revealed to him, he sold his soul to Mother to learn more about the enemy. Then the youngling started gathering specific items from Mom as rewards for his good work in order to pave the way for Norman and Emma to escape the farm. But Ray says he will only continue to support them if our goat deceives Emma into thinking that everyone will escape, while in reality they will only take the older kids with them since it makes no sense to survive the plantation just to be eaten on the outside. Our 2 kings part ways, with Ray being the clear victor of their debate. He goes into Mother's room to report that the kids are still training by playing tag, though Sister has been making many moves to usurp her throne, and she reminds him that they're only in this situation because he failed to keep the cattle from the slaughterhouse before ensuring Ray about the payment he will receive for his cooperation. The next day, our duo meets inside the forest where Ray confesses to being the spy, which causes Emma's brain to become a puddle as she wonders why he took so long to tell them, and the double agent explains that if they didn't leave the bunny at the gate, there would have been no reason to keep them in the dark while trying to cover up their mistakes. Our queen realizes that all this time Ray was carrying the burden of the truth on his own and makes him promise to never keep secrets from them again. Inside the house, Emma tells the group about a secret space they discovered because some nights Mother would disappear in the washroom to later be seen coming out of her quarters. Ray admits that it may be the place where Mom talks to headquarters, and Dawn wants to break in so they can contact the outside world to save Connie, but the spy reveals that it would be too risky since the room is likely to have traps in place for any intruders. The two newcomers leave the room to continue their chores. However, Dawn decides to check out Mom's room instead because he can't just sit still while Connie is in danger. The younglings enter the room where Four Eyes locate the place where the hidden door should be, and of course Mother keeps it locked. But they hear someone opening the entrance, though luckily it was just a little calf playing hide and seek. Dawn exits the room, then accidentally runs into Mom in order to loop in her key, before returning to Mother's office so they can open the secret door. The newcomers go inside to find an ordinary space with a hatch in the floor, which leads to another hidden area filled with all the toys of the orphans who were adopted, and this gives them confirmation about what they have been told. Both of the little ones start freaking out when faced with this realization. However, Dawn decides that he cannot trust our trio because clearly the children are in much more danger than they were led to believe. Then the newcomers listens to Mother returning to her office and slowly makes their way back up the hatch to escape through the entry that leads to the washroom. Mom heard the door closing, so she walks over to investigate when a little one enters her office to say he found her key on the floor. Inside the library, Emma shows our kings some books written by Minerva, and by reading the Morse codes on the stickers they decipher the warning that tells anyone who reads it to run away from the farm. So the trio theorizes that if this person is still alive, then there must be a society of humans surviving on the outside. But there are two books that doesn't fit in with the message the other relays, and Emma feels like these will be the most important in the near future. When everyone goes to sleep, our party meets in secret where Four Eyes confesses to going into the hidden room, which makes Ray scolds them for putting their plans at risk, but Dawn questions why they gave them hope to rescue their loved ones if the trio knew it was too late to save anyone, and after Emma instinctively apologizes for misleading them, the newcomers begs for a little honesty. Norman tells the story of what's really happening in the house as Dawn has a mental breakdown from learning of Connie's fate. He begins walking closer to serve our kings a vicious two-piece combo, but thankfully he spares Emma from a fisting, and asks why the trio never had enough trust in their own family to believe they could handle the entire truth, despite knowing how much he loves them. Then the young man steps outside to calm down. Dawn weeps from the realization that he's powerless to do anything, while Emma joins him outside to apologize for not believing in him, with the high-quality punching bags following close behind. Our queen tells them that even if everyone escapes the farm, the outside world is filled with demons, and asks if they would still like to leave, but the newcomers already made up their mind to join the plan. The next day, Ray meets with Mom to report that Norman is trying to make her past tense, but Mother chooses to deal with it tomorrow, before informing him of headquarters' decision to schedule another shipment in January, which Ray confesses will be his birthday. On the outside, Emma tells Norman of a plan she came up with to free everyone, but our goat advises her not to say anything to Ray. Then he goes into the dormitory to check under his bed and sees what his friend has planned for the future. Norman walks down the stairs and collects the poisons from our other teammates prior to meeting up in the forest so they can find out what is on the other side of the wall. But while the younglings are walking towards the fence, Sister comes out of the woods to block their path. The crazy bitch says she's been spying on them from the shadows and now knows everyone who is involved in the plan to escape, but offers to join their side instead of turning them in.
Like for a cat girl, subscribe for a waifu, and remember to stay swifty.
Ooh.